Hi everyone, welcome to the 10th lesson of the CrowPanel Pico HMI Display Series tutorial. In this lesson, I will teach you how to use the CrowPanel Pico HMI to communicate with the Arduino Uno via serial communication. To make the effect more apparent, I will design a simple UI interface on the CrowPanel. By clicking on 3 buttons of different colors, the CrowPanel will send 3 different messages to the Arduino Uno via the serial port. Upon receiving the messages, the Arduino Uno will control an RGB LED to change into 3 different colors. Since I have covered the steps of designing a UI with SquareLine Studio and modifying the example code multiple times in previous lessons, I will quickly go through these 2 steps in this lesson. If you are unclear about the detailed operations of these 2 steps, please refer to the content of the 6th lesson. First, let's get started with the first step, designing the UI interface. Open SquareLine Studio and create a UI project. I won't go through the entire creation process, but make sure the resolution, color, depth, and LVGL version are all aligned. Once you've created the project, add 3 buttons and adjust their size to ensure they're all the same size. You can duplicate the widget in the inspector panel and set each one to a different color, red, green, and blue, corresponding to the base colors of the RGB LED. Adjust the position of each button accordingly. Next, let's add an event to each of these 3 buttons. I won't go into detail about setting up the trigger conditions and actions. When a button is pressed, it triggers a function that instructs the CrowPanel what action to perform. The same setup applies to the other 2 buttons, but with different functions being triggered. Alright, once you've finished, click on Simulate to check for any errors. Looks good so far. Next, we're ready to export the UI file. Click on File and open Project Settings to set the project save path, the export path for the UI file, and the export rules. If you're not sure why you're doing this, I recommend reviewing the content from the 6th lesson. After you've made the necessary settings, click Apply Changes. Then you can export the UI file by clicking Export and selecting Export UI File. After exporting, first locate the example code we'll be using for this lesson. Since we'll be working with 2 boards, the code will be divided into what's used for the CrowPanel and what's for the Arduino Uno. Let's open the CrowPanel code folder, then based on the export path set in SquareLine Studio, find the recently exported UI files and copy them into the CrowPanel code folder. After that, open the example code. Next, let's switch to the Uno file and check if the code already includes the UI header file, if the touch driver is configured to match the board you're using, and if the function to load the UI is added. If you're not familiar with these steps, please review the content from the 6th lesson. In the loop function below, I've added code that determines what content to send to the Arduino Uno's serial port based on a flag variable. The code is quite simple, so I'm sure you'll understand it. Since the loop function decides what information to send over the serial port based on the flag variable, all I need to do is change the value of this flag variable when one of the 3 buttons on the UI interface is pressed. In the UI C file, locate the event functions for these 3 buttons. You'll see that each button triggers a different function when pressed. Now, open the UI events C file, where these are the functions that run when a button event is triggered. Here, I've added the flag variable to each function and assigned a unique value to the flag variable in each function. After adding the code, don't forget to declare this variable. Since the Uno file also uses this variable, you need to declare it as an external variable in the UI C file. That's it. The code modifications are complete. Finally, let's double-check the baud rate used during serial initialization. It's set to 9600 here, so remember that. Now, let's configure the compilation information and upload the code to the CrowPanel board to see the results. If you're still unsure about how to configure the compilation information based on different board sizes, please review the content from the first lesson. Once you've configured the compilation information, click Upload. Since the uploading process might take a while, I'll speed up this part of the video. After the upload is complete, you can click on the magnifying glass icon in the upper right corner of the Arduino IDE to open the serial monitor. When I press the red button, the serial monitor receives the string red sent by the CrowPanel. And when I press the green button, it receives the string green. This means that we can use the UI on the CrowPanel to control the serial port to send data. Next, locate the example code for the Arduino Uno in the class's course materials and open it. In the Arduino Uno's code, I need to ensure that the serial port of the Arduino Uno receives these messages and, upon receiving them, makes the RGB LED emit different colors based on the conditions. Let's start with this code snippet, which sets the 3 pins for the red, green, and blue of the RGB LED to control its color. Then, it declares an array to store serial information and a string to compare with the received messages. In the setup function, the pin mode codes and the serial port are initialized, along with setting the initial color of the RGB LED using a setColor function, assuming such a function exists in your code. Finally, in the loop function, we check if there is data available in the serial port using serial available. For information on serial port functions and their descriptions, you can find them on the Arduino website. This will help you better utilize the serial communication features. Next, use the serial read bytes until function to read the information received by the serial port. Finally, compare the received information with the strings declared earlier to see if they match. If they do, use the setColor function to change the eRGB LED to the corresponding color. This code is quite simple, and I'm sure you can understand its logic. After a quick overview of the code, you probably have a grasp of the Arduino Uno's workflow. Now, let's upload the code to the Arduino Uno board and connect it to the CrowPanel to see the final results. Click Tools, configure the compilation information, and simply select the Arduino Uno board. After configuration, click Upload. Since the Arduino Uno program is relatively small, the upload process will be quick. Once uploaded, find the CrowPanel and use the CrowTail and DuPont wires to connect the serial port of the CrowPanel to the Arduino Uno. The key thing to note is that the serial port connection is a cross-connection of the TX and RX pins at both ends. That means the TX of a connects to the ERX of CE, and the RX of a connects to the TX of C. Remember to connect the ERX and TX pins as I just described. After that, connect the Arduino Uno to the power supply and see if the two boards can communicate with each other through the serial port as we expected. Great, this looks exactly as I expected. Okay, that's all for this lesson. If you want to learn more, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll notify you as soon as there's an update. Thank you for watching and see you next time.